Hello and welcome to the show. I'm here at the top of Mount Chilliad for some more downhill chaos. My first vehicle today, the Mercedes C-Class DTM car. Yes, it'll Spitfire out of the side of the vehicle. It's expected to be pretty quick, let's face it. A DTM car, this one replaces the Feltzer, got its own custom handling files, is mighty quick in a straight line, and certainly when driven on tarmac roads is a very good car, good handling car, and so on. However, tackling Mount Chilliad is a little bit different for this kind of car. DTM car's not really built to go rallying, and the Mercedes is actually a little bit oversteering. It's very easy to get caught out trying to use all of the power that is in this vehicle, just trying to use that coming out of that turn. Yeah, got things a little bit sideways, and again, trying to make the most. There aren't very many points on this course where you can really open up some of the faster cars down here. I was trying to make the most of that straight. However, it is very bumpy down there if you get things slightly wrong, which I found out. I sent the hikers into orbit across the front of the Mercedes. I actually got it a little bit on two wheels through that corner, but that was never really a concern with this car. It was more the oversteer, trying to get the car under control when you're trying to get as quick a run out of the turns as possible. And I'm not really used to having to fight that sort of thing on GTA 5. Certainly not with normal vehicles. I mean, sure, you have sliding car cheats on, or the drift mods and so on. Yeah, they'll make the cars more difficult to drive, but normal sports cars and race cars and so on, you don't normally have oversteer issues, which was something to try and get used to. Again, bouncing around, just trying to carry that little bit too much speed through that particular turn. You can see I was fighting the oversteer in this car a fair bit. Also, as I said, very quick car, easy to try and get carried away a little bit too much trying to push it on the brakes there, and then it did not want to go back onto its wheels again, which is sort of stuck rolling down the side of Chilliad on our roof. I was frantically trying to wiggle the steering, but no, the Mercedes can, well, kind of try and camouflage itself in some bushes. It's a huge jump when we started off. Yeah, it didn't take too long to get the hang of this car. As I said, a blisteringly fast accelerating car. This one, top speed is a huge amount as well. But on Chilliad, you simply can't use these things. They were up to about 80, almost up to 90 miles an hour down that straight there, which is pretty good for, well, anything on this sort of a course. I mean, the brakes are pretty decent as well. You just got to remember you're going so fast into these braking zones where you just wouldn't be going that quick normally. I mean, the hairpin and so on is no issue for this car. There is plenty of grip on the most part, but yeah, when pushing really hard, especially when we're dealing with bumps and so on, in such a low slung race car as this one here, pushing it over the bumps can occasionally cause problems with such a low ride height. But this time things were going much smoother. I made sure I didn't try and jump on the power as soon on the way down here, and then just a few more corners to go. Take the speed over the high-speed jump there, but even at sort of 50 odd miles an hour, you see the car just starting to lift up. You can't really get much braver than that. Again, there is a lot of speed in this car. You just simply can't use it down a lot of this course. Again, long way on two wheels and bumped around in the second to last corner, but we don't end up on our roof and just fly it across the line at 80 miles an hour crossing the line. And sure enough, we were going to find a tree at some point in doing that. Yeah, the DTM car is ridiculously fast, as you would imagine, but not particularly well suited to going off-road. Now, once you've got used to the oversteer in this vehicle, you can see here that it struggles for traction when setting off. There's just so much power in this car that it'll do that when you're driving around on the dirt stuff. Yeah, a good car, a really rather good car, just not at all suited to this kind of road, which is why I chose to drove it down here. Up next, the Vaz-2105, or it's got some other names as a Lada. I'm not quite sure with these Russian cars. It replaces the Warren, again, all of its own custom handling files and so on. Plenty of tuning options for this vehicle to make it look interesting. The exhaust is ridiculous. The exhaust is wider than the tyres. That says a lot about this one. I was trying to make a flamethrower out of it. It didn't work, which was slightly disappointing. Yeah, this one, I didn't really quite know what to expect from this car, whether it was going to be terrible or what. sort of speed and power-wise, it doesn't feel particularly powerful, particularly quick. And on this first attempt, I slightly misjudged coming through the opening chicanes, and that starts putting us off down the mountain. Brakes pretty good, getting the car stopped and getting it all under control as we tumble down here, which is, yeah, it's pretty good going. I love how the smoke is pouring off the wheels while I'm on the brakes trying to stop it. We do get it to come to a stop. We've seen plenty of cars that haven't been able to stop when falling off of the mountain. The next attempt, things were going pretty well. I just carried a bit too much speed, and that threw me out a little bit wide through that section. Yeah, not a conventional line, not a line that you want to be taking. Ended up spinning the car around, but the thing was, this car was remarkably easy to drive down here. Not amazingly fast. It certainly doesn't feel like the fastest accelerating car. Doesn't feel like it has a particularly high top speed. However, it deals with this course fantastically well. Like, this was the third attempt, the third run I did with this car, and it was a pretty damn good run. I mean, okay, we saw the DTM car hitting 90 miles an hour. This one here is doing just under 70. Not too bad for straight line speed, not too bad for power, but it handles so nicely. There is plenty of grip in the car, but unlike the Mercedes, the back end will stay planted pretty much at all times. So I have lots of confidence to attack these corners with the Vaz. The brakes, again, pretty damn good on this car. It will get stopped really quite well, and because we've not quite got the same acceleration, I wasn't having any problems at all around this course getting the car stopped. I pushed my luck down here on the second attempt, so I remembered to just be a little bit more cautious. I mean, they're still carrying really good speed down that section. The car hasn't wanted to go up on two wheels. We haven't bounced up on any of the landings. We do have a little bit of a brake, but still, that was about 60 miles an hour we took off from that jump, and the landing, it was perfectly flat and level. And down the side road, getting a little bit run the banking. It's slightly on two wheels, but no problem for it here. The bumps, it just does nothing to the Vaz. It's absolutely fine. I was really impressed by this car. It just deals with the course so well, and we even managed to get it stopped before hitting anything with a little bit of a 360. Absolutely lovely car to drive down here. It really does handle the course fantastically well. Yes, it is down on perhaps power, kind of ultimate acceleration and straight line speed. It's not likely to be challenging the top of the supercars. However, a really very, very good car. Really very, very good for driving down that kind of a course. Yeah, dealt with everything Mount Chilliad could throw at it, and it never really gave it any serious problems. Our final vehicle, the Chevrolet Suburban. This one replaces the Granger. Now, I wasn't expecting great things from this. Traditionally, when we've had these big off-road vehicles, they have a tendency to like to roll over. That is a concern. I tried making fire come out of it. It doesn't work. It was a bit ambitious, I will be honest. Yeah, traditionally like to roll over. That's kind of what I was expecting from the Suburban. And the Granger, it's an okay car. I just never think it's particularly fast. Certainly things like the Dubster and them lot, certainly quicker SUVs than the Granger. So, yeah, I wasn't expecting particularly amazing things from this. I thought we'd have some nice spectacular rolls and tumbles. However, that wasn't the case. This one here was very well sorted out vehicle. You saw there I ran the banking. That should have been the end of it for a Granger, but no. Later on, it was a little bit of a scruffy run. I made a couple of mistakes out braking myself, so I thought, bugger it, I'll try going flat across there. And no. It was worth a try. If you do try to take it flat out, it doesn't quite work. Damage is pretty impressive on this car. It's kind of caved in all of the back of the Chevy. I thought it was worth a try. Admittedly, I was slightly out of position on the landings. I bounced off a sort of a mound of dirt where I shouldn't really have been. Next run, I may have pushed it a little bit too much. Under braking. Brakes on this are not as good as the DTM car or the Vaz, as perhaps you might expect. We do tumble, get caught up by some trees and lose all of the doors, I think. Oh no, wait, they've still got one door. We still have the passenger side door on the Chevy. Yeah, it was got to be careful of the brakes. Once you've got the hang of the brakes, amazingly, a hiker actually dived out of the way. Very rare that they managed to do that successfully. Again, I just didn't quite stop it in time. I was using similar braking points as to the cars I'd used before, and this doesn't quite have the the stopping power of them. This run, things were going really well, admittedly. You could see how hard I was pushing the car. I thought I'd slowed down enough for that bit there. I was so close. It just lifted the back of the truck up in the air. And if the rock face hadn't been there, I would have got away with it. But the rear wheels were in the air, and they just clipped the rock. I was quite annoyed by that one, because that run there, you saw it was really on the limit down some of that course there. Yeah, a little bit of a shame. A little bit of shame. I got in trouble there. This one here was a peculiar one. I just kind of ran out of grip and put the Chevy around in a circle. I guess I kind of took the jump slightly sideways in the landing, combining it with bouncing. The Coyote was fine though. Combine that with bouncing and taking the jump slightly sideways. That was too much for the Chevy and it spun around. But on the whole, yeah, the Suburban was really good. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was. We had absolutely no issues with the vehicle rolling over. I mean, you even saw in that first attempt where I took an awful lot of curb on the inside of this corner coming up here. Went on two wheels, but it certainly didn't want to roll over. And again, I can attack that relatively easily with this car. It'll lift up ever so slightly, but I mean, we've seen so many cars have issues with rolling over there. This is absolutely fine. It's it does really, really well on the handling front. And again, despite being a pretty damn large vehicle, this one, no problems getting it around the hairpin. It slides absolutely lovely through that section. We can fire it out the other side very, very well. Kind of acceleration and speed-wise, again, we're not likely to be seeing this up there with the likes of the supercars. However, it was certainly holding its own. I mean, we're up to about 70 miles an hour down there. And, well, okay, that doesn't sound amazingly fast when you consider the course that we're driving along. That's pretty good going. Again, we can carry decent speed through these corners, and much like we saw with the Vaz, the bumps were no problem for this. We did have to be a little bit careful down here. I think perhaps the long wheelbase was causing a few issues on the landing down there. The bushes, we had no issue with them for any of the cars in this one. I think I probably clipped them a couple of times, but they certainly weren't sending vehicles around into a spin. Second to last corner, again, no problem. Got a tiny little bit of oversteer through the final turn, but nothing major. And then it was across the line for the Chevy. Yeah, this thing surprised me. I thought we were going to be upside down a fair bit with it. We weren't. The suspension dealt really, really well. Really, really well with the course. And I picked three really good cars. That's not what I expected particularly from this lot. But yeah, I mean, the Suburban dealt with everything that I could throw at it. The only slight issue with it was the brakes weren't quite as good as the other cars. They weren't bad though. Just took me a couple of runs to get used to suddenly not quite having as good a brakes as I'd had with the other cars. Once I got the hang of that, yeah, there were really not many problems with any of these vehicles. So on to the times. It is the DTM car that is quickest of the three, unsurprisingly. It goes into 11th at 123.8, fractionally beating out the Osiris. Loads of speed in that. Unfortunately, you can't really use it, and combine the load ride height with the slight oversteer means that it is not the quickest of the car. It gets beaten by the Brawler and the Insurgent times are actually really impressive. They're 2 seconds quicker, over 2 seconds quicker than the DTM car, because they can deal with the bumps of the course, whereas the Mercedes, just a little bit too oversteery, but still no major issues with that particular car. It's quicker than the GT3 Aston. Further down, we find the Vaz, a 127.3, only 0.2 of a second slower than a Blackfin. I think that's really very, very good going. It's slightly quicker than the front-wheel drive Penumbra, quicker than the Felon All-Track, and in 23rd we find the Chevrolet Suburban, a 128.3, a second slower than the Vaz. I think a lot of that comes down to just the brakes on the Chevy. It's not quite good enough to get slowed down, but a 28.3 is still, again, not too bad a time. Slightly down on the Felon All-Track, but quicker than the Guardian. It's faster than a Ferrari 458 down this course. Yeah, all of the cars that I had today were all pretty damn good. That Vaz was a real surprise. That drove really, really nicely. Dealt with the bumps so fantastically well. And the Suburban didn't fall over anywhere near as much as I expected, which was also quite a big surprise. Anyway, that is it for this video. I will put a link to all of the mods that I've used in the description so you can download them, have a go with them yourself. But thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.